Few reality television personalities have managed to capture the authentic spirit of Las Vegas entrepreneurship quite like Corey Harrison. The beloved big hoss of History Channel's groundbreaking series Pawn Stars transformed from a reluctant heir to a savvy businessman before America's very eyes. His journey from the back office of his grandfather's gold and silver pawn shop to becoming one of the most recognizable faces in reality television speaks to a rare authenticity that resonated with millions. With his quick wit, impressive appraisal knowledge, and the undeniable chemistry he shared with his father Rick, grandfather Richard Old Man Harrison, and childhood friend Austin Chumley Russell, Corey helped build an unlikely empire that forever changed how Americans view the art of pawning. But behind the deals and banter that made him famous lies a story of profound personal struggle and resilience that few fans truly understand. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like as a gesture of tribute to this extraordinary talent who continues to navigate the complicated legacy of fame, family, and fortune. At 41 years old, Corey Harrison stands at a crossroads that few could have predicted when Pawn Stars first catapulted him to international recognition. The once jubilant television personality, who effortlessly balanced family dynamics and business acumen, now reportedly faces challenges that extend far beyond the carefully edited confines of reality television. Sources close to Harrison suggest health concerns have become increasingly significant in recent years, complicated by the emotional aftermath of personal losses that have fundamentally altered his perspective on both his career and family legacy. The weight of carrying forward the Harrison name while simultaneously trying to forge his own path has, according to those who know him best, created a burden that occasionally threatens to overwhelm even his famously resilient spirit. What happens when the revilences, cameras stop rolling, and the man America came to know as Big Hoss must confront his most challenging appraisals not in the showroom, but in the quiet moments of his own reflection? The story of Corey Harrison begins not under the bright lights of Las Vegas, but in the humble surroundings of a family apartment where the constant hum of pawn shop business discussions served as the soundtrack to his childhood. Born in April 1983, young Corey was raised in a world where value assessment was the family language. The cramped living room of their modest home often transformed into an informal appraisal room with his grandfather Richard, the Old Man, Harrison scrutinizing potential purchases while Rick, Corey's father, absorbed these lessons with intensity. The kitchen table wasn't just for meals, but for spreadsheets, inventory lists, and discussions about profit margins that would shape Corey's understanding of commerce from his earliest memories. The Harrison household operated with a particular rhythm: early mornings at the pawn shop, late nights counting the day's transactions, and weekends spent at swap meets and estate sales hunting for overlooked treasures. Young Corey's playground wasn't filled with typical childhood activities, but rather with shelves of mysterious objects, each with their own story and potential value. His grandfather, a Navy veteran with calloused hands and a perpetual scowl that masked a deeply caring heart, demanded perfection in all aspects of life. "Value is never what something costs. It's what someone will pay," was a phrase Corey heard almost daily, the words embedding themselves into his developing worldview. School presented challenges for the young Harrison. According to childhood friends, Corey struggled with the conventional education system, finding himself drawn more to the practical education he received at the pawn shop than the theoretical knowledge offered in classrooms. Reports suggest his early academic years were marked by restlessness, a mind constantly calculating and assessing rather than memorizing dates or formulas. This disconnect led to moments of frustration, with teachers who couldn't understand why a boy so clearly intelligent couldn't apply himself to standardized studies. Meanwhile, at just 8 years old, Corey could already spot a counterfeit coin from across a room or identify the period of an antique firearm with remarkable accuracy, skills that earned him no extra credit in school but proved invaluable in the family business. The relationship between Corey and his father Rick was complex from the beginning, a combination of deep mutual respect and the natural tension that emerges between strong, opinionated personalities. While the old man represented unwavering tradition and discipline, Rick embodied ambitious expansion and opportunity. Young Corey found himself navigating between these powerful influences, absorbing lessons from both while gradually developing his own distinct approach to life and business. The small bedroom he retreated to each night became his sanctuary, walls adorned not with sports posters but with carefully arranged collections, coins, comic books, and oddities he'd rescued from the shop's inventory, each representing not just monetary value, but the beginning of an independent identity taking shape in the shadow of his formidable family tree. The teenage years brought new complications for Corey Harrison, a period marked by what many childhood acquaintances describe as a growing restlessness against the predetermined path laid before him. While his peers contemplated college majors and career options, Corey's future had seemingly been mapped since birth. He would work in the family pawn business, eventually taking over when the time came. This certainty, which might have provided comfort to some, reportedly created a complex emotional landscape for a young man trying to establish his own identity. By 16, Corey was working full-time at the gold and silver pawn shop, starting at the bottom despite his family name. Sources close to the Harrisons note that the old man insisted on this approach, believing his grandson needed to earn respect rather than inherit it. This meant long hours behind the counter, cleaning showcases, restocking inventory, and handling the most mundane aspects of the business while watching less qualified employees rise to more prestigious positions. Invisible in a world obsessed with spotlights aptly described this period of Corey's life, the heir apparent toiling in obscurity, learning every facet of the business from its foundation. The late-night inventory shifts and weekend training sessions took their toll on normal teenage experiences. While classmates attended football games and school dances, Corey reportedly spent those formative years learning to negotiate, authenticate merchandise, and manage difficult customers. According to former employees, there were moments of rebellion, occasions when young Harrison would disappear for days, returning with a harder edge and a more determined focus. These temporary escapes, however, never lasted long before the gravitational pull of family obligation drew him back to the pawnshop floor. Early romantic relationships suffered under the weight of his unconventional schedule and the looming expectations of the Harrison legacy. Friends from this period recall Corey's frustration at being unable to maintain connections outside the pawnshop world, his life increasingly contained within the walls of the family business. Yet even during these challenging years, those who worked alongside him noted flashes of the business acumen and charismatic personality that would later captivate television audiences. A former gold and silver employee reportedly remembered, even when he was just a kid handling basic sales, you could see something special there. He had this way of connecting with customers that couldn't be taught. Despite these glimpses of his future potential, the reality of Corey's early 20s consisted primarily of rejection of his ideas for modernizing the business, rejection of his suggestions for expansion, and the subtle but persistent rejection that comes from being the youngest voice in a room dominated by decades of experience. This period of professional invisibility, however difficult, was silently forging the resilience and determination that would eventually transform Big Hoss from reluctant heir to respected businessman in his own right. The turn of the millennium brought subtle shifts to the dynamics at Gold and Silver Pawn. As technology transformed the retail landscape, Corey began advocating for changes that met initial resistance from both his father and grandfather. Former shop employees recall heated debates about website development, computerized inventory systems, and expanded hours, innovations that the younger Harrison championed while the older generation remained skeptical. It was during one such disagreement, according to those present, that Corey first demonstrated the business instinct that would eventually earn him respect beyond his family name. When a collection of rare coins arrived at the shop, items outside the typical merchandise they handled, most staff suggested a quick, conservative offer. Corey, however, recognized potential value others had missed. Against significant opposition, he reportedly negotiated the purchase at a higher price than anyone thought reasonable, then methodically researched, authenticated, and marketed the collection to specialized collectors. The resulting profit margins supposedly stunned even the normally unimpressed old man. This moment, small as it might have seemed to outsiders, marked a crucial turning point in how Corey was perceived within the family hierarchy. The transformation wasn't immediate or without setbacks. Sources close to the family suggest there were still plenty of heated arguments and dismissed suggestions, but something had fundamentally shifted. Corey had proven himself not just as a Harrison by blood, but as a businessman by merit. It was around this time that staff and regular customers began referring to him as Big Hoss, a nickname that acknowledged both his physical presence and his growing authority within the shop operations. And that's when everything changed. In 2008, a production company approached the Harrison family about developing a reality show centered on their pawn business. While Rick immediately recognized the promotional potential, the old man reportedly needed convincing, and Corey found himself in the unexpected position of mediator between these two strong personalities. Former employees suggest that it was actually Corey's persuasive arguments about modernizing their business model that ultimately convinced his grandfather to take a chance on television exposure. When Pawn Stars began filming, the production team quickly recognized something the family had always known. Beneath Corey's sometimes gruff exterior lay a natural performer with authentic charm and impressive knowledge. What began as a small cable show featuring a local Las Vegas business soon transformed into a cultural phenomenon, with Corey Harrison emerging as a fan favorite whose journey from back-office manager to full partner resonated with viewers across America. The meteoric rise of Pawn Stars from cable curiosity to international phenomenon happened with a speed that reportedly left even the media-savvy Harrisons struggling to adjust. By the third season, the once quiet gold and silver pawn shop had transformed into a tourist destination with lines stretching around the block. At the center of this whirlwind stood Corey Harrison, now affectionately known worldwide as Big Hoss, whose on-screen chemistry with his father, grandfather, and childhood friend Chumlee created the perfect balance of education, entertainment, and family dynamics that viewers couldn't seem to get enough of. The show's success brought unprecedented opportunities and challenges. According to production insiders, Corey's natural business acumen translated beautifully to television, his straightforward appraisals and occasional power struggles with Rick, providing genuine dramatic tension that couldn't be scripted. Viewers connected with his journey from the shadow of his family legacy to establishing his own expertise and authority. Ratings soared as audiences invested in not just the fascinating items that crossed the pawn shop counter, but in the personal growth of the once reluctant heir who was coming into his own before their eyes. With fame came a lifestyle transformation that few could have prepared for. The modest Harrison family that had built their business through decades of careful decisions and hard work suddenly found themselves celebrities with book deals, speaking engagements, and merchandise opportunities flooding in from all directions. For Corey specifically, this period represented a professional summit few reality television personalities ever reach. Financial success beyond what running the pawn shop alone could have provided, coupled with the validation of being recognized for his knowledge and personality rather than simply his family name. During these peak years, Corey reportedly embraced his newfound platform with enthusiasm and responsibility. Business associates from this period describe his dedication to maintaining authenticity in both the show and the shop operations, often working 16-hour days to ensure that the core family business didn't suffer under the weight of their media commitments. The cameras might stop rolling, but customers don't stop coming, he was quoted as saying in a rare behind-the-scenes interview, demonstrating the work ethic instilled by his grandfather that continued to drive him even at the height of fame. The cultural impact of the show extended beyond entertainment, with educators noting increased public interest in history, collectibles, and entrepreneurship. Corey's straightforward explanations of historical context and market values made complex appraisal concepts accessible to mainstream audiences. Financial experts credited Pawn Stars, and specifically Corey's relatable business approach, with helping destigmatize pawn shops and educate consumers about alternative financial services during a post-recession era when many Americans were seeking such options. At conventions and public appearances, fans consistently mentioned Corey's combination of expertise and approachability as reasons for their connection to both him and the show, suggesting that his personal journey had resonated far beyond the expected demographics of a History Channel program. Behind the carefully edited scenes of reality television success, however, Corey Harrison reportedly navigated personal challenges that viewers never glimpsed. According to those close to the family, the years of peak Pawn Stars' popularity coincided with significant private struggles that tested even his considerable resilience. The demanding filming schedule, coupled with his continued responsibilities at the increasingly busy pawn shop, created a workload that sources suggest left little room for personal life or self-care. The pressure to maintain the show's success while simultaneously running a legitimate business reportedly took a physical and emotional toll that manifested in ways both subtle and profound. Health concerns began to emerge during this period. By his own public admission, Corey's weight had reached a point that doctors warned was dangerous, a situation complicated by the grueling schedule that left little time for exercise or proper nutrition. Former production team members recall seeing him push through filming days despite obvious exhaustion, determined not to be the weak link in the family operation. This determination, while admirable, reportedly came at a significant personal cost that would only become fully apparent years later. The personal sacrifices extended beyond physical health. Corey's first marriage to Charlene Harrison suffered under the weight of his newfound fame and overwhelming work commitments. Though the couple tried to maintain privacy around their relationship, public records confirmed their divorce in 2015, ending a union that had predated the show's success. Those familiar with the situation suggest the split was amicable but inevitable. The demands of maintaining both a television career and a functioning business simply left too little time to nurture a marriage already strained by the pawn. Sudden exposure to public life. Perhaps the most profound loss during these years, however, was one shared by the entire Harrison family. Richard, the old man Harrison, the patriarch whose vision and discipline had built the foundation upon which their empire now stood, passed away in June 2018. According to family statements, his death from Parkinson's disease devastated the tight-knit clan, but reportedly hit Corey with particular force. Beyond losing a grandfather, he had lost his earliest mentor, the stern but loving figure who had taught him to see value where others saw only objects. Production insiders noted a visible change in Corey's demeanor when filming resumed following his grandfather's passing, a subtle heaviness that even the most careful editing couldn't completely mask. These accumulating personal challenges coincided with business complications as well. The very success that had transformed their lives also attracted competitors, imitators, and opportunities that pulled the family in different directions. According to business associates, maintaining the delicate balance between authentic pawn shop operations and television production became increasingly difficult as the show progressed through multiple seasons. For Corey specifically, sources suggest this period brought difficult realizations about the costs of success and the complexities of carrying forward a legacy now magnified by international fame. But here's where it gets complicated. The very fame that had created unprecedented opportunities for Corey Harrison also fundamentally altered his relationship with the business he had been raised to eventually lead. According to industry insiders, the transformation of Gold and Silver Pawn from local Las Vegas shop to international tourist destination created a paradoxical situation. The business was more successful than ever financially, yet increasingly disconnected from the authentic pawnbroking operation that had defined the Harrison family for generations. Former employees note that as tour buses began regularly stopping outside their doors and merchandise sales outpaced actual pawn transactions, the day-to-day reality of the shop changed dramatically. For Corey, who had spent his entire life learning the intricacies of the pawn business, this evolution reportedly created an unexpected identity crisis. The skills he had mastered, negotiation, appraisal, inventory management, were being gradually overshadowed by the demands of celebrity. Sources close to Harrison suggest this disconnect between childhood training and adult reality created significant internal conflict during what should have been his most successful period. Simultaneously, the family dynamics that provided such compelling television content carried real emotional weight behind the scenes. While viewers enjoyed the good-natured tension between Rick and Corey as entertainment, Those familiar with the situation suggest navigating these relationships without cameras present prove considerably more complex. The natural progression of a son seeking to establish authority in a family business became complicated when millions of viewers developed opinions and expectations about how these private relationships should function. The personal cost of public life extended beyond the shop and family dynamics. Despite significant financial success, sources close to Harrison indicate that the constant public scrutiny created a form of isolation few could understand. Simple activities like grocery shopping or dining out became complicated productions involving fan interactions and unwanted photography. While Corey reportedly remained gracious during these encounters, the cumulative effect of living constantly observed took a toll that friends describe as profound and often invisible to casual acquaintances. This dichotomy, immense professional success, coupled with growing personal challenges, reportedly led to periods of reflection about the path his life had taken. According to business associates, despite the undeniable benefits fame had brought, Corey occasionally expressed nostalgia for the simpler days when the pawn shop was just a family business rather than an international brand. This complicated relationship with success reportedly created moments of surprising vulnerability for a man typically portrayed as confident and unflappable on television. Now, if you're wondering what actually happened behind the highly produced scenes of Pawn Stars, the reality appears more nuanced than what viewers witnessed on their screens. According to production team members who worked closely with the Harrisons, the family dynamics portrayed on television contained elements of truth but were inevitably simplified for narrative clarity. The mentor-protege relationship between Rick and Corey, while authentic in its foundation, reportedly contained layers of complexity that 30-minute episodes could never fully capture. Media analysts point out that reality television, by its very nature, requires participants to become somewhat performative versions of themselves. For Corey, this meant highlighting certain aspects of his personality, his occasional impatience, his ambition, his playful rivalry with Chumley, while necessarily downplaying others. Those who knew him outside the show's context describe a more thoughtful, strategic businessman than the sometimes impulsive character portrayed on screen. This gap between public perception and private reality reportedly created moments of frustration for Harrison, who by most accounts took great pride in his actual business acumen. The question of scripting versus reality has followed Pawn Stars throughout its run. Industry insiders suggest the truth lies somewhere in the middle. While transactions were real and knowledge authentic, situations were often constructed to maximize entertainment value. For Corey specifically, this reportedly meant sometimes playing into the son trying to prove himself narrative, even as he had long since established his expertise and authority within the actual business operations. According to former production associates, this willingness to occasionally lean into a somewhat outdated characterization for the sake of the show demonstrated his understanding of what made compelling television, even when it didn't precisely reflect current reality. Another misconception reportedly centers around the day-to-day involvement of the Harrison family in shop operations once fame arrived. While the show created the impression of constant presence, the demands of filming, appearances, and expanding business interests necessarily reduced their time behind the counter. Sources familiar with the business structure note that professional staff increasingly handled routine transactions while the family focused on high-value items, special appearances, and strategic decisions, a practical evolution that the show's format couldn't easily accommodate. Through these complicated years of balancing reality with reality television, those close to Harrison suggest he maintained a surprisingly grounded perspective on fame. He never forgot that it was the pawn business that created the opportunity for television, not the other way around, a longtime associate reportedly noted. This foundation in practical business experience rather than performance apparently helped Corey navigate the often disorienting experience of sudden celebrity with more stability than many reality television personalities managed to maintain. Throughout the whirlwind of fame, business pressures, and family expectations, Corey Harrison reportedly found essential stability in a relatively small circle of long-term relationships. Despite the divorce from his first wife, Sources close to Harrison describe his subsequent relationship with Karina Harrison as a grounding influence during particularly tumultuous periods. Though this marriage would also eventually end, friends suggest the relationship provided important emotional support during years when the boundaries between public personality and private person were increasingly blurred. Beyond romantic partnerships, the deep friendship between Corey and Austin Chumley Russell has reportedly remained one of the most authentic aspects of the Pawn Stars narrative. According to those familiar with their history, this connection predates fame by many years, beginning when both were teenagers navigating the unique environment of the pawn shop. Production team members note that while many reality television friendships are constructed for cameras, the genuine camaraderie between these two provided some of the show's most natural moments. During personal challenges both on and off screen, sources suggest this friendship offered rare understanding from someone experiencing the same unusual journey from obscurity to international recognition. Family bonds, despite occasional on-screen tensions, reportedly remain central to Corey's sense of identity throughout the show's run. The relationship with his father, Rick, while complex, was described by business associates as fundamentally respectful. They might argue about approach, but never about values, one longtime shop employee reportedly observed. This shared foundation in the Harrison business philosophy apparently provided stability even during periods of professional disagreement or personal challenge. The connection to fans, perhaps surprisingly, also served as an important source of meaning during difficult times. According to those who accompanied Harrison on personal appearances, he consistently expressed gratitude for the support of viewers who connected with his journey. He never seemed to take for granted that people invited him and his family into their living rooms week after week, noted one event coordinator who worked with the Pawn Stars cast. This appreciation for the audience that made his unusual career possible reportedly helped maintain perspective when other aspects of fame proved challenging. The relationships with fellow staff members at Gold and Silver Pawn, particularly those who had known him since childhood, apparently provided another crucial link to authenticity. Former employees described Corey's efforts to ensure that the original team didn't feel overshadowed by television production, often advocating for their inclusion in episodes or ensuring they received recognition for their expertise. This loyalty to the foundation of the business reportedly earned him respect that transcended his family name or television fame, the kind of genuine regard that sources suggest he valued above more superficial aspects of celebrity. Today at 41, Corey Harrison stands at a crossroads that reflects both the remarkable journey he has traveled and the challenges that continue to shape his path forward. According to those close to him, recent years have brought a period of significant personal reassessment and transformation. The once rebellious Big Hoss has reportedly matured into a more reflective businessman with an increasingly clear vision of his own legacy, distinct from but respectful of the Harrison tradition that formed him. Health concerns have reportedly played a significant role in this evolution. Following his grandfather's passing, sources suggest Corey became more conscious of his own physical well-being, undertaking significant lifestyle changes that resulted in substantial weight loss and improved health markers. This transformation, while primarily personal, has inevitably affected his public image as well. Fans who grew accustomed to the larger-than-life Big Hoss of early seasons have witnessed a physical change that mirrors deeper personal growth, according to those who know him well. The pawn shop itself has undergone evolution as well. What began as a family business, then transformed into a television phenomenon, has now reportedly settled into a new identity that balances commercial interests with preservation of authentic pawnbroking traditions. According to business associates, Corey has been instrumental in navigating this transition, advocating for maintaining genuine expertise and service even as merchandise and tourism increasingly drive revenue. This dedication to core values amid changing circumstances has apparently earned respect from longtime employees who feared television success might permanently alter the shop's character. The relationship with his father has reportedly matured into a more equal partnership, though sources close to the family suggest the dynamic remains complex. As Rick has gradually stepped back from certain operational aspects of the business, Corey has increasingly assumed leadership responsibilities while maintaining the collaborative approach that defined their strongest moments on camera. This evolution, while natural in any family business, carries additional layers of complexity when it has played out in public view for over a decade. Personal life has reportedly stabilized following periods of significant change. While maintaining privacy around his current relationships, those familiar with Harrison's situation describe a man who has found greater balance between professional obligations and personal fulfillment. The lessons learned through earlier marriages and the constant pressure of public life have apparently informed a more intentional approach to building meaningful connections outside the spotlight. Yet challenges remain. The legacy of Pawn Stars, while opening unprecedented doors, has also created expectations and limitations that continue to shape business decisions. The question that reportedly occupies much of Harrison's strategic thinking is how to honor the show that transformed their lives while continuing to evolve beyond its particular moment in television history. How does one carry forward the best aspects of unexpected fame while reclaiming the parts of identity necessarily simplified for mass consumption? According to business associates, this is the central question of Corey Harrison's current chapter, a challenge that combines respect for the past with vision for a future not entirely defined by television cameras. The Harrison legacy now spans generations, from the old man's founding principles through Rick's expansion vision to Corey's navigation of the digital and media landscape. What began in a small shop on Las Vegas Boulevard has transformed into a multifaceted enterprise with implications far beyond the buying and selling of unique items. At the center of this remarkable American business story stands Corey Harrison, no longer the reluctant heir, but the bridge between traditions established before television cameras arrived and whatever future awaits after they eventually depart. In the final analysis, the story of Corey "Big Hoss" Harrison transcends the boundaries of reality television to touch something universal about family legacy, personal identity, and the unexpected journeys that shape our lives. From the young boy learning appraisal techniques at his grandfather's knee to the internationally recognized businessman navigating the complex intersection of commerce and celebrity, his path embodies both the challenges and possibilities of 21st century American entrepreneurship. The authenticity that resonated with millions of viewers wasn't manufactured for television. It was the genuine quality that cameras captured in a man raised to value substance over appearance, even as he navigated an industry often preoccupied with the latter. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop stands as a testament to 3 generations of Harrison business philosophy, its continued success, a reflection not just of television exposure, but of genuine expertise and adaptation to changing markets. For Corey specifically, the shop represents both the weight of responsibility and the foundation of opportunity, the physical manifestation of a legacy he didn't choose, but has ultimately embraced and transformed through his own vision and effort. Visitors who arrive expecting simply to encounter a television set instead find a functioning business where the Harrison approach to value, authenticity, and fair dealing continues regardless of whether cameras are present. The personal cost of this journey, health challenges, relationship strain, the complicated experience of public life, remains largely private, glimpsed only occasionally through carefully managed public statements or the subtle changes observable to longtime viewers. What is clear, according to those who know him best, is that these challenges have contributed to a depth and perspective that extends far beyond the sometimes simplified character portrayed on television. The real Corey Harrison, by most accounts, combines his grandfather's disciplined approach to value with his father's expansive vision, filtered through his own experience of a uniquely 21st century path from family business to international brand. If you've followed his journey from the beginning, perhaps what resonates most is not the famous transactions or memorable television moments, but the underlying story of a man finding his own way while honoring the path that made his journey possible. In a world increasingly preoccupied with instant celebrity and disconnection from tradition, Corey Harrison's story reminds us that lasting success often emerges from the tension between innovation and respect for foundations laid by previous generations. Whether you know him as the sometimes impulsive Big Hoss of early seasons or the more measured businessman he has reportedly become, his evolution invites reflection on our own relationship with legacy, change, and authenticity. For those who appreciate the Harrison family story, consider leaving a supportive comment celebrating not just the entertainment they've provided, but the genuine entrepreneurial spirit they've championed through 3 generations of American business history. In a media landscape often dominated by manufactured drama and artificial conflict, the enduring appeal of Corey Harrison and the Pawn Stars phenomenon speaks to our hunger for something increasingly rare: authentic expertise, genuine family dynamics, and the complex, sometimes challenging reality of building something meant to last beyond a single generation or television season.